morning. Bihar poll dates to be out at 4 p.m. today. The Election Commission briefing on Bihar election is slated at 4. Parties have sought 1 to 2 phase polls. The big question is, will the Election Commission then relent? Nitish, of course, we are learning, is to unveil the Patna metro ahead of the poll dates. Before the announcement is made, of course, is when the model code of conduct also kicks in. And the government is going to be unable to, in fact, announce these schemes or these projects later on. The big headline here, the poll dates to be announced today, the much awaited Bihar election poll dates is going to be out today, is what we are learning. Hectic campaign has been underway for days together now, which will only intensify further. Elections likely in fewer phases as requested by several political parties. The Bihar elections will be the first after the Election Commission's special intensive revision of electoral rolls that has trimmed 68 odd lakh voters and added 21.5 lakh new names. On this big story, India Today's consultant editor Rajdeep Sardesai joining us this morning, our managing editor Maria Shakil also with us. Coming back to you, Maria, in a moment from now. A word from Rajdeep Sardesai on how he looks at this all-important war, Rajdeep, coming in the backdrop of as it does really with this intense fight that we have seen over the special intensive revision of electoral rolls in the state of Bihar.
Thanks very much, Sneha. Yes, Bihar is the big election of 2025. But when you look at Bihar's polls, particularly 2010, 15, and 20, if you go back to the last 3 assembly polls, what we've seen is very interesting. In 2010, Nitish Kumar and the BJP had a landslide victory. They swept the polls. More than 200 of the 234 seats went to them. Then you come to 2015, where Lalu Prasad Yadav tied up with Nitish Kumar, and they swept the polls, getting more than 180 seats. And then you come to 2020, where you had a razor-thin victory for the NDA. Nitish Kumar, for the first time, seemingly vulnerable, and therefore the polls became very close. The gap between the two alliances was just 12,000 votes, and Tejasvi Yadav could well have become chief minister in 2020. Now in 2025, what's changed is the NDA seems to have a much wider alliance. The NDA seems to have the benefit of having put all this cash in the hands of people. The Mukhyamantri Mahila Yojana, for example, in particular, you put 10 lakhs in the hands of at least 75 lakh women. It could extend to as much as 1 crore. It will be interesting to see whether payments can be made even after today, once the model code of conduct comes into place. So it's not so much vote chori, but as some are calling it, vote kharidi. Now, whichever way you look at it, the NDA has the wider alliance, but also faces 20 years effectively of rule by Nitish Kumar, where clearly anti-incumbency has crept in. Nitish Kumar really remains, to my mind, the key factor for Bihar. If Nitish holds strong, particularly to his EBC vote bank, then it is clearly advantage NDA. If, on the other hand, Nitish Kumar's anti-incumbency is diluted, then clearly the NDA is vulnerable. And there is one X factor, not Sir, but Prashant Kishore. To my mind, Prashant Kishore is the real X factor in this election. As I said, every election in Bihar has thrown up some surprise. Could Prashant Kishore be the surprise? If Prashant Kishore is able to get double digit in terms of vote percentage, whose votes will he take? I think that will become very, very critical. That will be decisive, in my view, in deciding what kind of government we have in Bihar. If Prashant Kishore is not able to make an impact, then the wider NDA alliance clearly has a big advantage. One final point. In 2020, the Kamzor Kadi, or the weak link, was the Congress. They contested 70 seats, won just 19. That was well below the strike rate of the rest of the Mahagatbandhan. Parties like the CPI-ML and the RJD did better than expected. The Congress was the weak link. Now, in this election too, it remains to be seen whether Rahul Gandhi's Vote Adhikar Yatra gives the Congress some momentum, or the Congress is so organizationally weak that it can't capitalize on it. I would say net, as we start this race, advantage NDA. But whether that advantage will sustain over the next 4 or 5 weeks will depend on the kind of campaign and indeed the Nitish Kumar factor. Here is a chief minister who's clearly in poor health, has faced 20 years of anti-incumbency, remains indispensable to the NDA at the moment, but can the JDU punch above its weight or at least do much better than it did last time round? If it cannot, then the Mahagatbandhan certainly has a chance. Remember, all the polls have shown that Tejasvi Yadav is the preferred chief ministerial choice. But he's the preferred chief ministerial choice of about 35% of the vote. That's effectively the vote base of the Mahagatbandhan. Where will the Mahagatbandhan get the new voters from? That's the challenge for the Mahagatbandhan to go beyond the Yadav Muslim vote bank. Can they get new
Rajdeep.
voters?